Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bitwig Studio and Music Production. This is lesson 2.18, and we're going to pick up right where we left off in the last lesson and talk a little bit more about the difference between our clip launcher view, which is here on the left, and our arrangement timeline view, which is here on the right. For starters, you can adjust the size between these two by just grabbing in between and pulling left and right. So pretty easy there. You can get to the point where you can completely collapse one view or the other. And if you're watching on the bottom there, you can see how the orange lights are changing to indicate exactly what's going on. Second thing is, why exactly is this arranged left to right? Okay, if we were in a view like this, we'd kind of be thinking, well, this could either be going up or down or left to right. But really, it's very logical when you think about it, because what we have is our tracks right here. This is all still one track in essence. So it's all still outputting on this fader going left to right. And what I want to show you is if we duplicate this out a few times and we want to record what we had in the arrangement, let's just pretend like these are totally different clips. Obviously they're not, but whatever. And I'm recording back. When I go over to cue my second clip, it's all recording onto this one channel, which is of course happening horizontally, etc., etc. I don't even have my headphones on, so I'm not sure what this is sounding like, but you get the idea there. Now let's compare this to our mixer view. So we're going to move into the mixer view now for the first time, or for the first time, at least in a logical way, as we explain everything that's happening. And I can access this a few different ways. One is by clicking the M button on my keyboard, but for me, I'm just gonna click this here and boom, we've moved over. Notice right away that these are identical, okay? So like we said before, you can have different clips on your arrangement timeline as compared to your scene launcher. So we could have a totally different clip happening here from bar 1 to 17 with different automation, whatever, as compared to what we have going on in the clip from our clip launcher. Not the case when you're going from the clip launcher to the mixer or the mix panel layout. These are going to be identical. So if I change the color of scene 2 changes. If I go into the clip launcher view, and I adjust the automation here. Okay, I have pan selected. That's fine. All right, and I go to my mix view and I select this and I pull up our automation. That is identical. If I change this now and pull this down and I go back to the arrange view, you can see that it is correspond to that change. You can also make the switch between these two views by just clicking the tab button. Okay, very, very simple. Now what you see here is that instead of our clips going from left to right, we're now going top to bottom, and that's happening for a few reasons, I think. Number one is this view is called the mix view, and for most people, they're assuming the word mix to mean what you do when you've kind of finished your arrangement. So we've had a whole track finished, and now we're worried about pan, we're worried about volume, we're worried about our effects, if we had any effects in here, you know, etc., etc. But I also take this to mean a DJ and making a mix live. So this to me seems like the logical view. One of the reasons is because we're going top to bottom, and if you think about it, you know, deck 1 is on your left, deck 2 is on the right, and if you had a playlist in there, like we're imagining these are all, you know, different tracks obviously, you know, this would be my deck 1, I'd be playing, then I bring in deck 2, back to deck 1. It's very much a vertical arrangement, and if you just even think about something like a playlist in iTunes, that always happens vertically, that never happens horizontally. So it works both ways. And of course, you want complete control then from top to bottom. So you want to have your mix controls right here, you know, all going in this vertical fashion as compared to when you're working in the arrangement and you have different clips and you're triggering them back and recording them. You're going to prefer that to be left to right because that's exactly how you're recording. All right, so a few things about this mix view. Like anything in Bitwig, the trick is to just indicate any kind of panel choices and to click them on and off and see what happens. So show clip launcher, this is going to be very, very important to us. If I turn that off, boom, it goes away just like that, and our big meters have now populated the screen. If I turn those off, now we just have a blank space here. If I turn off the show device chain, those go away. And that's basically where your effects are going to be nested. It's very nice to have this here. So if we had a gate, a filter, and a delay, and I knew I needed to make a change on one of those, instead of having to pop open the device view here and kind of select exactly what I want, I can double click and it's going to immediately highlight what I want. So you can see that happening as I go up and down, or if I completely deselect, right? It's not highlighting any of our devices down here, and it works in reverse as well, which is very, very helpful for when we're mixing, and even in some cases when we're DJing and we're using a complex chain of effects. Next is the show effect send amount. So if we had a send channel here, which we actually do, we can see our knobs, and we will be using this when we're doing our live DJ set. This is going to show our inputs and outputs. We'll be using this briefly, but when we're actually performing live, we're not going to need to worry about this too much. And even when we're mixing a track, we're probably not going to need our show input outputs. And the last is the show effect tracks. And this should be a familiar icon to you from when you're working in the arrangement view. So whenever you're working in Bitwig, if you see panels like this, always click them on and off a few times, read whatever it says when it pops up, and that should help you out in terms of what you can do from any given view. So what are we going to need here? We can use a few things. I kind of like having the big mixer, or excuse me, the big meters up. May not be practical, but for now I'll leave it on. I also definitely need to see my clip launcher, and I think for right now, that's all I need for where we're going to be going. However, as we move on, we'll definitely be toggling some of these tabs on and off based on our needs. So the last question is, what view are we going to be working in for doing our live DJ set? To me, it seems pretty self-explanatory. This is the view we're going to want to use because I like thinking of my set as being something going from top to bottom. Just like you'd see in iTunes or anywhere else. Like if you have a crate of tracks, you know, you're flipping through them top to bottom, not necessarily in a left to right fashion. Also, because we have our meters right here, we can see everything that's going on. We're gonna have a little bit more control, and to me, it's just a lot more logical. What use would be working in the arrangement and clip launcher panel side to side like this? I would say definitely when you are working on a track, it makes a lot more sense to have this ability to record and to be going left to right, seeing it on the actual timeline. So I do like having the flexibility of both. Also notice when we go to the mix, we do have the same back to arrangement buttons we can click if we wanted to map out and work on a track in this view. Some of you might be very familiar with that from other digital audio workstations, and so it might just be more comfortable to be working in this view when you're doing your sketches. But for the most part, I would say doing sketches working in this view makes a lot more logical sense when you have your timeline going from left to right as well. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you understand now the logic behind these different views, and I look forward to you checking out the next lesson. Take care.